Suma's interrogation. Jake held on to me. I screamed and begged and ordered him to let me go, to let me keep healing the noble, but he never listened. Eventually the guards arrested Jake and I. He was collared like a normal familiar, and I was restrained with magic. Then we were taken to be questioned at a nearby guard station. I waited for a long time before anyone came in, and the first thing they did, it was just to ask about Jake. I sat alone in that room with nothing but my thoughts. I thought about that noble, about what he did to me, about how I couldn't save him. I wondered if I really even tried. In the moment it felt like I was trying, but I failed. I asked myself if I had done something different, would it have worked? If I had been able to channel more of Jake's magic, could I have healed him? Questions played my mind, dancing in my head like snow in a blizzard, but no matter what thought came or went, there was no any single end to it. I didn't save him. A while later, an investigator by the name of Dahal came to question me. With him was a memory seeker whose job was to watch my memories as I was being questioned. Your familiar Sentinel already let us do a memory delve on him. We ask that you cooperate as well, Dahal said. Yes, I said softly. The memory seeker stood beside me and cast a spell, and Dahal began asking his question. Can you tell us how and when you first met the nobles from the alley? I was at a meeting with the Grand Duke at City Hall. He wanted to speak with me about my name and my familiar. After I left the meeting, I saw the nobles watching me. They must have followed me from City Hall because they found me after I'd just finished eating. One of them called out to me. He started screaming at me and insulting me. He demanded that I go back to the Grand Duke and renounce my name, I explained. Do you know why he would choose you specifically? Dahal asked. What I mean is, there are many commoners with names. Why did he go after you? He said that I didn't deserve it. He said that I practically named myself, and that meant I had stolen an honor that belonged to nobles, I told him. Why did he say that you had named yourself? Dahal asked suspiciously. Jake, he named me before he became my familiar, I said. I didn't order it or anything. I hadn't even asked him to be my familiar. He just decided to name me, I explained. In our world, ordering someone to give you a name is a crime. Technically, it's called a theft of honor. Dahal looked over at the memory seeker and she nodded. So, what happened after that? Dahal asked. The nobles attacked me. One of them threw a magical attack at me and it broke a few of my ribs. I used some of my healing magic, then flew away as fast as I could, I said. But they chased you? Dahal questioned. Yes, all the way to the alley. In a panic, I summoned my familiar, Jake, I said. You've called him Jake twice now, but according to our records, your familiar's name is Sentinel, Dahal interrupted me. Yes, sorry. When he became my familiar, I had to choose a name for him, but his name from his world is Jake. You used a naming bond for a familiar summoning? That's rather uncommon. Normally naming bonds are only for important things like magical items. Why use it with a familiar? He wondered. That's harder to explain. I didn't actually mean to do it. When I was performing the ritual, I was forced to choose a name, I said, hoping they didn't ask further questions about that. In truth, I had never seen a familiar bonding ritual like the kind I participated in before. I still hadn't figured out what that voice was. I glanced over at the memory seeker, who at that moment looked some mix of confused and terrified. Dahal noticed this too, but didn't say anything. They simply exchanged looks. I wondered if they were employing some kind of thought communication spell, so that they didn't need to speak in front of me. Well, anyway, you said they followed you to an alley and that you summoned your familiar. After he arrived, what happened? Dahal asked. After Jake appeared, he asked if I was okay, and if we would get into any trouble if he defended us. The noble, he attacked Jake, hit him with what I think was a spell meant to attack life forces. Jake didn't have any physical injuries, but he became ill immediately. Jake hit the noble and... I tried to speak, but I became too overwhelmed. I was on the verge of breaking down. I was breathing quickly, my heart rate was up, and my stomach was upset. I'm sorry, can I have a minute? Of course. We can take a break for a few minutes. Do you need anything? Water? Food? Dahal asked, and the memory seeker stopped her spell. No, thank you. I just need to clear my head for a moment. Dahal and the seeker left the room for a few minutes, and I pulled myself together. I couldn't stop picturing it in my head. That noble, screaming as I healed him. I broke down crying for a while, until I was able to get myself together. A while after I finished, Dahal and the memory seeker came back in and resumed the questioning after making sure I was alright. Your familiar hit the noble after the noble attacked him. What happened after that? Dahal said, fluttering back onto his perch. I ran over to him and tried to heal him with magic. I trained in healing and bonding magic at school, but I was running out of energy. I asked Jake for help, and I channeled his energy through me, and used it to try and heal the noble. I don't know what happened. I have performed that spell hundreds of times. It always works, but he just started screaming, I said. I was tempted to look over at the memory seeker, but I didn't. I could guess her reaction. You say you use healing magic, but according to our autopsy reports, only minimal healing was performed on the noble. In fact, there was evidence of torture magic being cast on him. Every bone in his body had microfractures, his muscles were shredded, and he had a total body bruise, as if every vessel inside his skin had ruptured. I don't know how strong your familiar is, but I find it hard to believe that a single hit from him could do that kind of damage. So why don't you explain to me how he got those injuries? Dahal snapped. No, I started to stammer. I use healing magic. I couldn't do something like that. Here's what I think, Dahal started. I think a noble attacks you, attacks your familiar, and you get mad. Then your familiar retaliates, and leaves you with the perfect opportunity for revenge. No, I didn't. I wouldn't. Just keep looking at my memories, you will see, I tried to say, but he cut me off. Memory magic has been around for quite some time, Miss Suma. You could have altered your memory to make it seem like you were innocent. Dahal cast a spell, opening the entrance of the room, and the memory seeker ended her spell. We will verify the status of your memories, then make a decision. For your sake, I hope you're telling the truth, Dahal said, and they flew out of the room. Hours passed before Dahal came back. He told me that my memories had been proven genuine, and that the lead interrogator of the case had decided not to press charges. I was led out of the room and was told to wait for my familiar. A few moments later, I saw him walking down the hallway. All the emotions and stress I'd been mulling over in that room came to a head, and I felt an overwhelming need to go to him. I flew over and let everything out. Jake may have been the one to hit the noble, but I was the one to fail him. In my eyes, his death was my fault. In my eyes, I killed him.